So we just got the craziest reveal yesterday, and to be honest, I was so impressed with the amount of content they've put in here for this league. Given that the Keepers League wasn't really something that I was super impressed with, I would give it like maybe like a 4 or 5 out of 10. This league, however, is looking like it might be like an 8 or a 10 out of 10. Just because of not only the quality of life upgrades that they are putting in, which were absolutely incredible. Like, there is some stuff in here, stuff that we have been doing, kind of, for instance, with like, a really good example here would be the currency exchange. And if you run up and you have your Faustus right next to your stash, then you can basically press your stash and then Faustus at the same time, kind of thing. So you can open up both your stash and Faustus window, and then you can like use your stash while you're in Faustus. And they are now making that an actual ability for us. So we just have a button we press now while the window is open, and then we can literally just take stuff from our stash and put it into the trade, which is amazing. But there is so many other things in this patch that are just outrageously nice. They are literally remaking gems, support gems, into some new gems. We're getting a new Atlas. We're getting a new Ascendancy. We're getting I cannot believe how much stuff they're putting in. Even a new mini Ascendancy. Thinking about how Diablo is putting out a new character, and then they're gonna sell it on Diablo 2, they're gonna sell it on Diablo Immortal, and they're gonna sell it on Diablo 4 is insane. Like, it's the same thing, right? But they're gonna sell it 3 times. This is a free update, and there's more stuff in this one update for the next 4 months, right? Like, we have 4 months to play this on, and it has so much more content, so much more stuff, quality of life, all of these things. And I feel like this is how you're supposed to be as a company. Like, you see the community want something, kind of like with the Faustus and opening the stash, and then you literally provide what the community wants. If we take like Diablo 2, for instance, for years and years and years, and we're talking like 20 plus years, we have been wanting loot filter and stackable currencies or stash tabs, for that matter, whatever, and they're just putting that in now. It took them 20 plus years to make. By the way, we used to get banned for using third-party programs to have an actual loot filter in the game. So what they used to ban players over, they're now going to sell to you. In Path of Exile with GGG, they look at the community like, oh, you want this? You got it. We're giving it to you. It's so incredible. I'm so impressed with this update, and I really like the theme around it with the Jin, which is basically kind of like playing off of the Diablo or the Path of Exile 2 new ascendancy for the sorceress, which is the
when we say an imperfect copy, we mean it quite literally.
What's it called again? Something of Virastas? The disciple of Virastas, I believe. And I feel like this is like playing off of that theme to kind of give it, since Path of Exile 1 is like the pre-story to Path of Exile 2, or like the beginning, you could say. This is just amazing. So we are getting these mirages, which is gonna engulf a part of a map, and then you go in there and it's, let's say we're doing like the toxic sewer, for instance. It's gonna engulf a certain amount of the toxic sewer, and then once you come out, the buff you get in there persists throughout the map.
Wishes that
and
can grant you extreme
I
power
am.
inside the mirage,
It's just
such as
looking
the wish for
incredible,
souls
and not
or
only
the wish
that,
for godhood,
you can
which
drop
allow you to
maps
consume the
where
souls
the
of your
entire
enemies,
map gets
or
engulfed into
make you
this
completely
sand,
unstoppable.
like,
While within the
place,
mirage, of course.
which is just, man, like they are just going
Each
above
wish
and
is also
beyond. I feel
marked with a
like
sigil
on these
of one of
things.
3 powerful djinn.
I will say it was
Sand
kind of
djinn,
like a little bit needed in
fire
some way
djinn,
that they went all in on Path of Exile 1, because
depending on the sigil
the
chosen,
Keeper's League
monsters
was
within the affected mirage will have a small
like, there
chance
was
to
some
drop one of
parts about
3
it that
new
was
coin
incredibly
boxes.
cool and really,
A coin of
really
knowledge,
nice, and then there was a
coin of
couple of
power,
parts that was like,
or
nah,
coin of skill.
you know what I mean? I didn't,
Each of
for
these
instance,
coins
like
can
that
be
we
used
couldn't
on a
add
max
multiple
level skill
breaches, because
By
that's my
weakening it,
favorite way of
or
leveling
meeting it
up.
with a random support that matches
But
the
now
power of the
we
coin
can,
base.
so it's like, this is insane.
Only one skill that is imbued this way can be
We
socketed
get
into a
new
given
imbued
equipment item
gems,
at a
we
time.
get new exceptional
Meaning you
gems,
cannot have
we
2
get,
imbued
which
skill
is,
gems
the
in your body.
exceptional gems
As an
was
example.
extremely cool, because
That's
it's
one
kind
of
of
the
like the
rewards.
awakened
But
gems,
let's get
but
back to the
better,
area-to-area
with
mechanic.
more
What's your favorite
customization
choice
to
of
them,
wish?
and I freaking
Enter the
love
mirage
that.
and
I
fight
think
your
it's
way
a
through the
really,
monsters
really
and
good
astral
choice.
hazards
But
to find
honestly,
the
in my
Tether
opinion,
lobby
some of the
djinn.
best stuff is like
Shatter this
removing
chain
tier
to free the
17s.
djinn. Step by
Now,
step, weakening whatever
it's not
dark
removing
plans
them in
your
a
upper
term
world may have for
where
your
we
cause.
won't have a way to
Wishes
grind
are
our
not the only
fragments,
value a
because they
mirage
are going to
has
put in
offer
something
to an
new called
enterprising
nightmarish
exile.
maps, but they are going
As
to
we
be
mentioned
focused
earlier,
on grinding the
mirages are an
fragments and not
imperfect
be
copy of the area the
necessarily
djinn
the best
occupies in
way to
broadcast,
grind
and
mechanics
it will
within the
copy
maps.
almost anything,
That will
as
still
long as it's within the
belong to
domain of the djinn.
T16 and T16.5, so
Mirages created
technically
from an in-game
you
map,
should,
for instance, will have
that's what you
all
should be
scary,
grinding for the
endless,
most part.
and
And then
map
if you want to
modifiers the
grind some
area
Ubers, you go to do the nightmare maps, and then
Mirages
you get your
created next to a
fragments.
strong
And
boss
now,
will have a
instead
new
of it
strong
being
box ready
completely
for you.
random what fragments that drops, it's gonna be way more
Fights can be
focused
defeated
towards
again.
a specific fragment for this specific map. So it makes it easier for us to grind out what we want.
Legions fought once more.
Not only that, they are literally remaking the
Effectively,
Atlas,
you get
which is
portions of your map to
absolutely
play a
insane. So
second
they
time. And
made
everything
it
you
like
did
a
to
new.
enhance the content of that map
It's
lies in
actually
Mirage
technically
2.
not necessarily completely new.
recreated copies of
It's an
Lookin
old
games,
idea
however,
that they have revamped
morphed into
and
reality
took
by
all
the
the things
power
that
of the
people were
Mirage.
unhappy with, and then
There's some
they
side effects.
fixed
For
it. So
one,
now it should
recreation
be
may not be perfect.
way better
The factions of a
experience.
legion
And
may
I,
differ
for
from the
once,
one the Mirage
really
provides.
like this Atlas idea.
The variety of strongholds
Another
is
thing they're
enriching.
doing is they're kind of implementing the
importantly,
Path of Exile
mechanic
2
may be
maps. So instead of
with new
you
threats
dropping a
and
tier
rewards
16
that are
map
customized
and
to
it's
each
always, or like
and
you have to
only available when
favoritize
doing
whatever
that
map
mechanic
you
in
want.
Mirage.
Let's say, for me, for instance, I really want, like, let's say, Defile Cathedral. So I would have to go put that as my favorite map on all slots. Then I would have to go grind some maps, or I would have to go trade for them, or something like that, right? Now,
As a reward for these new threats,
we get a tier
Mirage
16
also
map
plans
and
to
it's
provide
unmarked. Like, it's not a
sinister or
specific
dextral
place.
catalysts.
You take that, put it in
These
your
catalyze
Atlas,
your
and
run
that
with increased
becomes
effect of either
the map you
prefix
want to
or
run.
suffix modifiers.
So now you just drop
As you can
them,
imagine,
and
there's a
whatever
lot of
tier you want to
potential.
run, you now just put into the
Another
map slot
example is
that you want to run. So let's say you want to run
Mirage
the
has a
Defiled
chance to be
Cathedral,
replaced by a
you put the
thaumaturgic
map into the
powerhouse,
Defiled
a
Cathedral
powerful
map
magical
on your
device
Atlas,
that can
and that will
grant friends
automatically
infinite
become
in order to obtain
that
vast
map.
quantities of
And then
content
next
at
time you
cost.
open up your Atlas, you just put it in again, because it's
Light encounters
automatically going to
recreated
open
in
up the
Mirages
previously run map.
have their
So you can
lanes
just
replaced by
go the
multiple
same map over and
enemies
over and over if you want to.
infested with
But this
blood.
also opens up the ability to actually run different maps
This
if you
lane
kind of
can
like,
reward a new
I don't
best
want to just run the same map over and
Cold
over.
Belt.
I just want to kind of like
Because
spice it
this
up and
belt
run
allows
something
it to be
different.
anointed,
Now you can. Like,
causing it
it
to
feels
grant
more
the
rewarding, I
pageantry
think.
notable of your choosing.
There's so much incredible stuff in
Prison Gym
here.
will generally be near the content
New
that you power in
gems,
the Mirage.
new skills,
So you
revamped
need to worry
skills.
too
A lot
much
of the
about
holy
getting
skills are
lucky with where your
going
content generates in an area.
that's already existing in the game has gotten a
As the
pass through and
campaign
then
doesn't
become
generally contain too
more
much
viable.
additional league content
I
for
love that.
Mirages
I
to
actually
acquire,
really fucking
we've
love
gone
that.
and added a whole bunch that will force spawn near the gym. So your campaign experience will double down on being more action-packed and rewarding.
So what he just said was the new campaign. There's gonna be, I think it was like 20 new like hidden places throughout the campaign. Which again, look, it just sounds so cool. I love the fact they're constantly adjusting the campaign experience and making it even better, and giving it more flavor, giving each area something special. You know what I mean? Like that. I love that fact.
Flesh render is one such artifact. An ancient.
We're getting new uniques too. Insane.
Its rusted and jagged edge is perfect for poisoning and withering your enemies. However, Varushta has in her command the power to restore these once lost Maraketh treasures to their former glory. Acquiring a coin of restoration by slaying monsters and mirages allows any unique obtained from the Afarud to be transformed into its Maraketh counterpart, its glorious original form.
That is so cool. Transforming a unique into a different version of that unique. I love that. I think it's so clever. They're doing so many things right. I'm so impressed. And for once, I cannot wait to log in and play this and experience what it's like. I think it's this should be the new boss we're getting. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I think this is the new boss we're getting. It's just looking super sick.
Exclusive items, yours for the taking, if you're able to defeat him.
So that's the Mirage League. Now, to face all the new evils, you might want some righteous skills. Some holy skills. In 328, you'll have access to a slew of new options to bring divine devastation and return the faithless to their rightful graves. We're also introducing some supports to go with them, as well as some new transfigured gems. Let's go over a few examples.
With holy hammers, you slam the ground to call down a hammer of justice from the sky. If this hits an enemy, an additional holy hammer will cascade forwards, which itself can further cascade, and so forth.
That is so cool.
Expending a power charge when using the skill,
that is
call down an additional
cool.
2 hammers, which can also cause cascading slams. The more numerous your foes, the more
this looks insane.
Judgment.
I really like this skill for once. That it just looks cool.
An old skill. In fact, it is so old that it's one of the very first skills ever implemented in Path of Exile, over 15 years ago. It's been long overdue for some attention. With 328, it has been.
I love the fact that they are taking up old stuff and reworking it into something that feels more up to date with what we currently do and what the current game is.
Will have hammers of light batter them from above.
It's just,
These hammers cause
man.
where they land, so clustered enemies are demolished by repeated impacts. When successfully hitting an enemy with Holy Strike, you'll summon forth a floating holy armament, a glowing mace that follows you closely. These weapons are minions, and will attack with Holy Strike themselves whenever you do. These holy armaments will copy the stats of your main hand weapon to deal their damage.
That is so cool!
Stand against your foes with Shield of Light, a retaliation skill which will allow you to unleash a cone of holy light upon enemies after blocking a hit with your shield. Additional cones of light will also pour forth from your nearby allies when you hit with the skill, allowing you to recruit your holy army to create purging light. Divine Blast emits a beam of holy light from your shield, coalescing into a hovering ball of energy. A few moments later, this unstable orb bursts, exploding outward with divine power. Hallow supports melee attacks, causing them to inflict a new debuff, Hallowing Flame. Hallowing Flame builds up as charges on enemies, getting consumed when attacked. Consuming a stack of Hallowing Flame gives the attack that
so they're also gonna go over some of the ascendancies, being the Warden and the Guardian, and since they were the least played ascendancies in past, I think it was like the past 2 leagues, So they're gonna revamp some of the notes on there to make it more appealing to play, and that's something I feel like they've been doing ever since Settlers League. They've kind of been going back and saying, okay, this Ascendancy is not being played too much, so let's do something to it to make people more interested in playing it, and I really like that. I like the idea that they're bringing out here, and new transfigured gems. Like, honestly, that is sick, right? Like, we're getting gems with new abilities or like new flavor to it, and it's especially for gems that didn't have it already, which is even cooler because that just gives you even more to choose from.
Warp directly to targets when you use lightning skills, and arc lightning upon doing so. This gives you a mobile storm of destruction that follows you as you dive into battle. We'll leave the rest of the transfigured skills for you to comb through in the patch notes. Speaking of the patch notes, as always, we love to shake up the meta, so we've done a bunch of balance adjustments to a few other things as well, such as a pass on bloodline classes, expanded the passives available
So
to the Templar
we're given a more like not just a new bloodline. They are going over the ones that wasn't necessarily super great, and they're giving them new flavor. Like, honestly, what more can we ask for here? I feel like they're going through all the stuff at once almost. Like, it's just incredible.
Some of the least played Ascendancy classes. This time with a focus on Guardian and Warden. Speaking of Ascendancies, let's talk about the Scion and her new.
So I have personally never played a Scion, but the fact that we're getting a new Ascendancy for it, and this Ascendancy will change every league. So basically, it relies on already existing uniques in the game, and you'll get to pick certain unique items, like modifiers, and then that will change next league. So it might be like the best Ascendancy this league, and next league it might not be. Or it might be not the greatest Ascendancy this league, and then next league it might be the best. You know what I mean? Like, I really fucking like that. That always brings out something new every league now, with this one Ascendancy.
Or instead, take Kilowava's Bluster, giving you a chance to have extreme elemental resistance against incoming hits. Next, pick from a unique weapon power. Widow Hail greatly increases the bonuses gained from your quiver. Or Martyr's Teaching, which causes your minions' critical strike chance with attacks to be equal to your main hand weapons. Lastly, pick your Crown Jewel, a unique jewelry power. Astral Projector causes Nova spells to cast from enemies rather than from yourself. Or take Astramentus, simply giving you a huge boost to all your attributes. Due to all the ways you can mix and match unique powers, the Reliquarian has more flexibility in how you build it compared to any other Ascendancy class in the game. Our plan going forward is for the Reliquarian to not be a static Ascendancy class, and between each expansion, the unique powers which are offered will change. If you don't like what she offers this expansion, hopefully she'll have the power of your favorite unique item in the next one.
So,
time to move on to the end game.
Not only all this stuff is happening, right? We are getting Keepers is going core, the tree is going core, but you don't have to collect all the parts to make the tree grow. And honestly, I really like that. I really like that, because the tree is really good, right? But they are removing weapons and quivers from the tree, which is fair, because if one thing does everything, like, why do anything else, right? I like that philosophy. So it'll still be probably the best way to get, like, your boots, your armor, and your gloves real quick early on, and the helmet, but it's just incredible. Like, I really like this. Not only that, they have gone over the King's March stuff and changed some things, like basically shuffled the ports, added a new port, and other stuff too, which I really like.
First, want to establish some context while having a bit of a trip down memory lane.
27 expansions ago, back in Path of Exile 3.1.0, the War for the Atlas, we had a mechanic on the Atlas where the Shaper and Elder were engaged in war. This manifested as influence regions on the Atlas that affected specific maps. The ever-changing influence regions made the Atlas feel more like a physically connected space, rather than just a fancy way of visualizing a checklist of completed maps. However, one of the main frustrations with this mechanic was that you constantly needed many different specific maps in order to manipulate the influenced regions.
We realized we'd love to again have mechanics that manifest physically on your Atlas, but we'd have to address the issue of always needing those specific maps.
The first major change we'll be making to solve this is divorcing map items from specific areas. As an example, instead of having a Mesa map, you will now find, say, a Tier 10 map. To open a Mesa map now, just locate and select Mesa on your Atlas, put in your map item, click Activate, and you're good to go. That Mesa may drop a Tier 11 map. You can then immediately return to your map device, which will default to the last map run, and then run it again. Or choose a new map to use it on. It's your choice.
I think this is a clever way to basically make the busy work so much less, and also to give us an ability to kind of like not be forced into constantly going and buying up like shit tons of maps because you want to run a specific map. I really like that. I think the one thing I'm a little bit that I don't feel like they touched on was the King's March mappers, right? Like, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to function with the King's March mappers. If you just pick some map on your Atlas and then they will run that map over and over, or if they just run a random tier 10 map, you know, or tier 16 map. That part is not fully clear right now, but I'm looking forward to see it.
If you haven't played in a while, here's a look at it before and after.
I really like this new design.
You will now begin at the center of the Atlas, with each corner housing one of 4 Voidstone slots. In addition, all content accessed from your map device now exists physically on the Atlas, so you can see everything available in the endgame as you reveal the Fog of War. This also means that all unique maps are now present on the Atlas, including some old favorites that are appearing for the first time. Don't worry though, you don't need to complete Hall of Grandmasters every league. You now gain 1 Atlas skill point per unique map completed, up to a maximum of 10. Given there are around 20 unique maps, you only need to complete the half you want, if you can get your hands on them. Note, you aren't losing any Atlas skill points. These have been moved to new places, and actually, you can get more than before. Due to Zana's actions, Egan now has a new goal and is determined to stop Zana's destruction by making use of a mysterious new discovery, arcane astrolabes. Zana is currently traversing the threads that weave the Atlas together, severing them. With these new astrolabes, Egan is able to trace her movement, but using them causes dangerous side effects. When you use an astrolabe on a map on the Atlas, a shaped region will manifest itself in that quadrant, affecting many of the maps within it. There are many different kinds of astrolabes, and they apply different types of shaped regions. For example, an abyssal region, which causes all the maps to have an additional abyss, or a blighted region, which adds a blight encounter. Completing the content added by the astrolabe will remove the shaped region's influence from that map. Upon doing so, every other map remaining in the shaped region will gain an additional modifier. This means as you progress through the shaped region, maps you run will become more and more intense, with the relevant mechanic getting more.
Now that is some juice for you right there, and I really like this mechanic too. I think this is a very clever way to go about it and make something that's a little bit more readable for newer players too, right? Like, because I do think that sometimes you lose new players due to like the amount of different systems, and they're not always super like obvious how you juice it up and get it to a point where you just get a bunch of stuff out of it.
So you're able to target a certain vault if you're wanting to try get a specific type of reward. One such vault is the Archon's Vault, where you'll be rewarded with powerful unique items.
Another thing is that they are basically gonna do a little bit more concentrated content in terms of if a specific drop comes from a specific piece of content, that is the content it comes from, and you're not getting that from every other piece of content, right? So a good example here would be the fossils from Delve. Now you actually have to go to Delve and dig down in order to get the fossils, which I really like. I think that's that's how it should be. It shouldn't be that you do Delirium or you do Legion or you do another mechanic and get the same outcomes out of it, because it lowers the value and the value of those type of items, right?
You can right-click unique maps or map fragments in your inventory to automatically open your atlas to that location with the map.
This is also incredible how they basically made the busy work less. So when you have to fight at Zeri before, you had to put these 4 parts in, and they had to be at the right spot in your map device. So that's like four times you have to press it and drag it over in order to do that. Now you just click it and it's instantly in there. It's constantly there, like shaving down the time spent doing like other stuff than actually playing the game. I think it's so impressive.
Continue to minimize busy work so you can spend more time doing what you love, killing monsters and getting loot. To that end, we've made a number of changes. We won't get into too much detail, but here's a quick summary of what you can expect to have received adjustment. We've removed cartographer's chisels and map device crafts entirely. The loss of content and loot here has been compensated for in other places. Voidstones now grant special global bonuses while socketed on your atlas, including adding the new Originator Voidstone, which enables specific atlas bosses to drop exceptional supports. We'll elaborate more on that in the next section. T17 maps as you know it have effectively been removed. The bosses have been kept around, and they better fulfill their original purpose of being a gateway to target farm uber pinnacle bosses. The most annoying modifiers on Originator maps have been removed or replaced. No more getting turned into a slug for simply using skills, and no more will you be incapable of dealing damage periodically.
So I think that's a very clever way to go about it too, because that was like modifiers that just was so painful in certain situations, but you just basically did not run the map. You just sold the map or you did something, you re-rolled it basically, right? Because there's just too much shit mods on there that just made your build completely, it negated your build completely, and you just didn't, you couldn't really play the fucking map.
Such as this Expedition Scarab of Infusion, which can generate some truly tempting logbooks. And for those of you looking to take on the ultimate one-on-one fight, the Anarchy Scarab of the Exceptional will place a true antagonist level rogue exile threat in your map. Empowered by every type of Wildwood Wisp, possessed by a tormented spirit, augmented with rare monster modifiers, and affected by a shrine, this exile is not to be trifled with. Alongside that, we've also changed some, such as the Beyond Scarab of Resurgence, which now causes all 3 Beyond bosses to appear when a Beyond boss would spawn in your map. On top of that, we've made improvements to a number of weak Atlas Tree passives, such as Pillage and Plunder, which now grants a chance for items dropped by Syndicate members to have a Fractured Veiled mod.
So that is so cool. I think this is another one that just hits the right spot. But they did do something that is going to be a little bit of a, like, you could say like a letdown for some players. Like, I personally is one of those who really like the Harbinger. And I think that by removing it from the entire atlas and just taking that mechanic out and then making the fracturing orbs and stuff like that global drops, basically you can drop in all maps. It's a good choice for now, especially due, like, given that. So what they said was they're gonna revamp the Harbingers and they're gonna make it way more in theme with what it should be, instead of just being a portal that spits out some blue guys and then that's it. Now they're gonna make it into an actual mechanic that has like way more, a way better theme around it. And I think that that is a really clever way, because I think they're doing it so they can implement it into Path of Exile 2 at some point. And to put it into Path of Exile 2, it needs a decent amount of changes, I would say, in terms of just like visuals and like other stuff too. And by taking it out and being able to work on it and then bring it back later as a Harbinger League 2.0 and then be able to add it into Path of Exile 2 is a better choice than just keeping it in there. And then basically it doesn't have quite the flavor that other stuff have. And I really like the fact that they're going over these old things and then making them greater.
But there's existed a gulf between the more interesting ones, such as Awakened Spell Cascade, which has some additional transformative effect, as opposed to some of the simpler Awakened supports, which just have slightly higher numerical values. Exceptional supports will all be transformative, serving as an additional late-game tool to customize your build around, and extending character customization and creation even later into a build's life. One of the goals here is to provide interesting build choices even at later levels and deep into the endgame. However, we are certainly not aiming to reduce top-end player power with these changes. Exceptional supports will still be super strong. If used well, they will catapult your character even further than before. So, how many are there?
This is incredible. Look how many new support gems are being added.
Exceptional supports to discover.
Like revamped support gems instead of the awakened gems. We're getting these exceptional gems, and the exceptional gems has more flavor to them than some of the old awakened gems did. And I think that's a very clever way to go about it.
King in the Mists, we have the Hex Toad support.
And they're adding new ones as well. Like just like it wasn't enough to just revamp it. It's just, let's add more. You know what I mean? Like that. It's like, where the fuck do they get the time? They're still making Path of Exile 2 and new leagues for that and new like stuff for that constantly, and they still have time to do this. And you look at Blizzard, and they're giving us like one character and that's it, you know what I mean? Like that's all they could manage to do. And the difference between those two companies is Blizzard is 20,000 fucking employees. This is 200 employees, or like maybe 300, between 200 and 300 people. And they're 20,000 people over at the other side, and they can't even create something that's close to this in terms of scope, in terms of size, in terms of quality. I am beyond impressed with how much, like, the amount of effort they put in is incredible.
Is that walls would block your projectiles, meaning that when a hive randomly spawned in your map, it would make it harder to clear. In order to prevent that, walls and hive encounters will now be destroyed by any damage. But we also wanted to make sure we reduce the visual clutter they cause.
Now, with the whole wall situation on the new breach, I think that we need the walls. And the reason I say that is because I played melee character last league in Keepers, and not having the walls would make it impossible to do on certain melee characters. It's just simply not possible to keep out the amount of spawns that's coming in. I understand there are people out there that's gonna blast full screen AoE spells or bows or whatever the fuck, right? Like kinetic blast of cloisterings type of builds, and those kind of guys want to have that open space so they can just stand in the middle, hold down one button, and it clears the entire thing. The problem with that being, not everybody is going to play that. The people who are going to play a melee character that does not have that type of AoE is going to be completely fucked over if that's, like, if the walls are not there. That's what I realized.
Speaking of
And
extra and scary
I was,
support, with
you could say like, I'm normally against stuff like that, but like finding out that that's how it worked, I realized that that is very much so needed for certain players. Just because otherwise you're like cutting off certain players from actually being able to do the content in itself. And I think that would be a bad choice. It's better to give the player the option to just remove the walls with a press of a button, or to like say, okay, if you want the walls to help you out, then they're there. I think that is very much needed.
Such as the Hiveborn support, which summons an army of breach minions to do your bidding when you use a supported offering skill. And the Foul Grasp support, which calls forth a field of grasping breach hands when you recall brands, exploding for heavy lightning damage when enemies approach them. We're looking forward to seeing how these improvements and additions are received, alongside a lot of what Keepers also has to offer. From the new bosses in their bloodline, through to the Genesis tree and its many different crafting options, like Foulborn Uniques. Also with its new narrative, we look forward to extrapolating on all of this and learning more about Aelith, the Hiveborn, and its Breach Lords in the future.
That covers all the new content we're adding, and that was a lot.
Yes.
From a new in-game system, several new reward types, new ways to juice maps, all of which you can double up in the new Mirage League, and all that alongside a suite of new holy skills, a new ascendancy class, and an insane amount of new character customization in the endgame. However, an important part of Path of Exile expansions is making sure there is a continued effort to improve quality of life. So let's get into that now.
You can now favorite trades on the currency exchange. This consists of selecting 2 currencies that you want to be able to trade between with a single click, and setting them as a favorite trade. Favorite trades will appear by default on opening the currency exchange, and will still auto-suggest a ratio based on recent trade data.
So I see this as being really helpful for certain situations, but especially for console players. I think this is going to be incredible.
Now, when trading in a full set of divination cards, it will automatically be handed in to become the resultant item. If you then turn in another set immediately, the reward from the previous set will be transferred to your inventory directly, assuming there's enough free space to do so. Labyrinth font crafts that previously
This is probably the best one.
Now allow you to choose which transfigured gem of that
I
type
think this is a sick choice, because beforehand it was completely random. Now it's actually just whatever you want, like the choice is yours.
Item descriptions of the sold item. When using Divine Orbs, you can now tell exactly which modifiers can be randomized. The ritual icon will now glow if you've got significant unspent tribute in an area and all rituals are complete. And a pop-up will appear after the final ritual completion. Also on the topic of ritual, you can now quick use vessels on completed rituals. Have you ever tried to click a divine shrine surrounded by enemies and find it extremely difficult to click? Well, shrines now take priority over monsters when clicking in an area they override.
This is such a great situation for
Since
hardcore
3.24,
players.
We've been looking to add new ways to improve the campaign
The
experience.
Divine Shrine
and
has cost so
3.28
many
is no
people
different.
their character.
This patch, we've added over 20 landmark
Just because
rooms
you're
throughout the
clicking the
campaign,
monster and not the actual
scattered
shrine.
across all 10 acts.
So 20 new
Some of
landmarks
these
across all
rewards are
fucking
pretty useful
acts is
stuff.
insane also.
So keep
Like
an eye out
new
for the
stuff
new
that you can
and
find that
unexpected
we
rooms,
don't necessarily know
side
exactly where it
passages,
is. Well, you can
chests,
tell from
and
these where it
encounters
is, but
as you progress
there'll be
throughout
20 of them and
Blacklist.
we're only seeing 3, so.
We want most of these to be a surprise, but we'll show you just one. There is now a small central island in the Karui Fortress, all inhabitants of which will drop a basic tattoo when slain. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs. The Curator of Wisdom and Iron Incarcerator
For the
packs.
first time ever, I'm actually
Each tier
not
contains a pack's
super
full face value
impressed with the
points,
supporter
alongside
packs
several
armor
exclusive
sets themselves,
microtransactions.
but I do like
As
the
always,
new
the
hideout. The new
microtransactions
hideout
in
is
these packs are
kind of
purely
insane.
cosmetic
And
do not affect
there
your
was like a
character's
new
power
pet that's
or
like this
progression in any way.
paper bird thing that's kind of sick too. But honestly, comparing the previous supporter pack to this one, I think the previous one was a little bit cooler, I'm not gonna lie.
Complete with a helpful rat friend.
However,
These chronicles will
I'll
activate
probably
your
still
magic on
either buy
identified
one of
items,
these or
will
maybe
track the
even
number of items
just
identified
buy one of the
each
older
rarity.
ones.
Just hover the
Because
item,
I want to show
link it in
support,
chat
right?
to
Like
show it
I
off.
think it's deserved with what they're doing
The
here.
acquired wisdom unique finisher effect summons an ancient scroll that consumes unique enemies.
But
and
it
the
stays
knowledge they
within
hold.
the
Most exiles will
Verasta
struggle carrying piles of scrolls while traveling
theme,
Rayclast,
so I can
but the
appreciate
Grand
that.
Curator of
But this
Wisdom armor set
outfit
is
is not
perfect
really
for
for
the
me.
adventurous scholar.
The
Any
Grand
expert curator
Verdant,
knows that scrolls hold more than just
whatever it was
knowledge.
called, the
They also
purple
hold
green
power.
thing was
As you
that
cast spells,
outfit
the
was
scrolls
the
attached to the
sickest
armor
shit
will
I've
burn
seen in a
away
minute.
before
I
rematerializing
absolutely
shortly
love
after.
that. So this
It also
specific
features
one
a
is
series of
not
helmet
really for me.
variations, so you can get precisely the look you're after.
But you can't get what you want every
Summon
league,
your
right? Like in terms, you
scroll-shaped
can't get
familiar
all
pet to
the
follow
check marks
alongside
every
you.
league. But
This
for
creature
this
is
one,
formed
like
from
95% of them
magical
is checked for
and can
me. Like
shapeshift
it's just
between
insane.
different forms.
And if it's the
You can think
supporter
of this
pack
as
that's
having
missing,
multiple
I'm
pets in
okay
one.
with that. Like
It
that
can
doesn't
fold
matter
into
to
a
me.
fox
That is a
and then
sick
even
fucking
burn away,
pet though. That one is
reforming
crazy.
into a flying bird.
The other one is kind of sick too. The cat thing, whatever it is.
This series of packs also contains the Scroll Portals. Jumbo-sized versions of the Scroll of Wisdom and Portal Scroll that you can make a quick retreat through. A supreme
This
catalog
hideout
of
is
knowledge can't remain in one place for too
insane.
long and risk being pillaged by
Looks like the
thieves.
guy from
Titan Apex
the
hideout
guy from
features
Path of
a
Exile
colossal
2
titan who
carrying a
carries your
stone.
base of
Look at that.
operations
That
atop
is
their
insane.
shoulders, constantly moving through a boundless desert. The Iron Incarcerator pack also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Incarcerator's Restraints back attachment features stockades that were used to immobilize prisoners by binding them to the earth as they were tortured for their wrongdoings. Shackles envelop your choice of torturing device when using the Chains of the Incarcerator weapon effect.
Again, I don't
These
think this
chains shatter
is
into links
necessarily
as you
the coolest
batter
thing
enemies.
ever. Not when you compare it to some of the other stuff in the game.
Make your way through Rayclast as a walking penitentiary, intimidating your enemies with the elite Iron Incarcerator armor set. After a long day of tracking down criminals,
That
step
portal is
into
kind of
the
sick though.
Iron Maiden
That portal is kind
to
of sick.
retreat to your
Got a little
torture
bit of
chamber.
venom to it, you know what I
It
mean?
acts as a great deterrent for would-be intruders. This peculiar creature
That
was
one
a
is
favorite
kinda sick,
amongst
too.
incarcerators. They would be sent into the midst of prison riots to mesmerize and control the toughest of minds. Use their talents to charm other players' pets, causing them to abandon their owners and follow in line behind you instead. At least until it
So you
wears
can
off.
steal people's pets.
What better way to
That's so
execute
cool.
prisoners when your torturing has depleted
The
their
idea
value?
is sick.
Harvest their souls to fuel this map device, condemning them to eternal incarceration. Your kills within the map are also recorded based on the rarity of the monster. You can choose to pin an execution session that you're satisfied with on this miniature leaderboard, which is displayed for all that dare enter your hideout. Additionally, all microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 2. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
So overall, very, very, very impressive. So much stuff they're putting in here. There's so many W's. This is an incredible W for Path of Exile 1, I think. I think this is probably one of the better leagues since, I would say, since Settlers. Settlers is still like one of my favorite leagues of all time since I started playing the game. And I think, so I started back in, what was it called again? Before Necropolis, the one that everybody always talks about that they think was the best, but I only played that one for like to the early map stage, and then I stopped playing. But the Necropolis was like my first real league, the first league. I had a high level character, fully decked out, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And honestly, I still think that for me, Settlers was like the favorite one so far. mercenaries being a close second, I would say. And then the keepers and the Necropolis was like bottom tier for me, right? Like that, it just didn't give me a whole lot of stuff that I was like super hooked on. And this is looking like it's gonna make it up in the settlers mercenaries range instead, and I'm impressed, man. I'm very impressed. So yeah, that's basically what we're getting, and I'm really looking forward to try this out. I hope you guys are too, and yeah, I'll definitely see you all in another video. Have a good one.